Hello there. This is Dolph Mark's presentation about the fall of the Atlantis and the rise of religion. Now, I'll give you a moment to read that. Pause the video if you read it. But I am not advocating any negative social context on any religions or beliefs. I actually personally believe that we are all born innocent and that we were born to love and want to experience life to the fullest. All right, so let's just start with the big Earth picture, the whole picture of Earth. According to a lot of research about pole shifts, Edgar Cayce Navy maps of the future, things are about to change, and Atlantis potentially is going to rise out of the ocean. And there's a lot of evidence showing that Atlantis may be down in the ocean from different parts of the world. So that leads me to how the world was potentially back in the time of Atlantis or Lemuria. I tend to believe that Lemuria was, more rivers, less ocean, or no oceans. I don't know for sure, but that's what I tend to believe. A lot of, luscious rainforests, bountiful, beautiful planet, okay? And, they call it a freaking, it slipped my mind, the pretty much how the Earth was before the oceans, okay? Pangea, that's right. So through time, whether it's because of how the cosmos works, meteors or whatever you want to believe scientifically, with planet changing or adapting or evolving through thousands, millions, whatever, there was obviously some evidence showing that there was a change on the planet, right? I tend to believe that the oceans came from technology or dimensional forces that manipulated climate and the planet. A lot of people reference what the fall of Atlantis came from, just their obsession with power, science, technology, whatever. It could be a mixture of all of the above, right? So the planet got larger from the original Pangea, and there are theories about how the planet can grow in size, whether it's from meteors hitting the planet or cosmic dust adding up over long periods of time, bacteria, whatever, because, we are finding out that there is stuff in space, even though it seems to be a void. It's not a complete void. There's a lot of evidence showing there is stuff in space that could come to Earth and add to its size. Not only that, but I believe personally that the center of the Earth, as Admiral Byrd referenced in his diary and his experience going to the North and South Pole, I believe the center of the Earth came from the core expanding out, opening up the interior of the planet, burning off and reforming the Earth's crust, or like not the crust, the inner layers of the planet. So There's many historical references through many communities and cultures that show that they were able to travel supposedly great distances. Now, some theorize that they did it through frozen ice age, across the northern or southern parts of the planet. But their cultures reference using boats and stuff, and there's evidence of boats, in the earth and stuff, or in the when they dig it up, right? So I tend to believe that the continents, or the divide of the continents, when they started, were not as far as they are now. So the distance they had to travel wasn't as grand as it is now. So there are expanding Earth theories that reference what I was talking about with the planet growing in size. Also, it coincides with how they were able to migrate, right? Because there wasn't as great of a distance as there is now. And that means there are less tides or ocean hindrances that could make it to where they could possibly travel across the continent, or not continent, across the oceans, or the large masses of water. So most of my personal beliefs come from the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. There is, the reference that they're 40,000 years old. I tend to believe the reason they say that they're 40,000 years old is because that's where they geologically have dug it up from, or found it on the earth. So, and because the Emerald Tablets are not on the periodic table, and you can't scrape off a piece to carbon test it or find out how old it truly is, they just go off of the reference of where they found it in the earth. So they just go off of geologically, but that doesn't mean it's actually older and that it was just left at that location at that time 40,000 years ago. This could be actually quite older than that. Don't know exactly, but it's my theory. The reason I reference the Emerald Tablets is just spiritual insight, migration, religious, how the religions were established, or many beliefs actually coordinate with the teachings from the Emerald Tablets. The Bible, Old Testament, Quran, Buddhism, all religions, all beliefs, even the indigenous people, there are connections you can connect or make with the Emerald Tablets, and how, because there are specifics in the tablets that correlate with these beliefs. So in the Emerald Tablets, it does reference the serpent beings who were hiding as humans. Being humans, when you look, were able to speak or call them out pretty much from their disguise. You could see that they were reptilian and not human, but that they were actually hiding amongst us as humans. And Thoth warned of these beings. There are other potential influences that I believe that these beings allied with the Anunnaki. Some people say the Anunnaki and reptilians are the same. I actually disagree with that. If you go to the Syrian tablets, and there are 300,000 years of record, kings or whatever, as you can see, the sculptures and the carvings, I think that they were actually working together, and that the Anunnaki and the reptilians are actually two different races, and that there are actually many more races that were part of Earth's history. Giants have been found. I tend to think the giants, Anunnaki were giants. Egyptian cultures, across the world, showed that there were giants. It's easier to wrap your brain about a simpler misunderstanding than because truth is stranger than fiction. So it's, to present information Humans naturally want to try to connect it in a way that we can all accept under our limited consciousness or perceptions. What we don't understand, we want to put it in a box, right? So there's a lot of misinformation. Here's some images referencing that the Egyptians and the Sumerians are showing you that the Anunnaki were giants. They were actually different alien races from Atlantis, stayed in contact and managed Egypt. Okay, they were all working together after the Pleiadian Wars, or Star Wars, or I don't know exactly the specifics or details right now at this moment. That's to come. But this is just mostly about the fall of Atlantis and the rise of religion. Okay, this isn't about all the other specifics prior to that. So, during Atlantis, or the last part of Atlantis age, before the Sumerians took over, or the Anunnaki, and before Thoth went to Egypt and built pyramids, or at the time of Egypt, actually coinciding with I tend to believe, the second half or third, the third part of the Sumerian 300,000 years, there were many different types of aliens. The Ophanim developed sacred life of humanity. So, the Ophanim were actually bird people. A lot of Illuminati family, college fraternity connections go off of their personal beliefs over the last hundreds of years that the Nazis also coincided with Hitler, saying that the only the Anunnaki, and they're the only human aliens that were ever here, and that they're direct descendants. So there is an agenda to get you to believe that as well. Now, that doesn't mean everybody who presents or concludes these are necessarily evil or bad people. They just do the humanistic behavior of coinciding with the powers that be, because why would they allow me to do what I did if they're really evil? Well, because that's how evil works. They manipulate. They try to use the truth in a way to manipulate you into a direction or agenda that they want. So Enki and the Sumerian tablets, Enki was the ruler, according to Sumerians, before his brother Enlil came. And Enki was like a rock star scientist that liked to have a good time with humanity. So him and Thoth were the ones who put pineal glands in humanity. And this is during the Atlantean peace after the Pleiadian Wars. The Draconians, this is their system. This system has belonged to the Draconians and the Anunnaki for longer than Lemuria or Atlantis. That's why we have dinosaurs. This is a Draconian planet, originally. So when they tell you, like some people say, hey, we're the aliens? Yeah, well, actually, there's some truth to that, okay? Things changed during the fall of Egypt, okay? So if you go back to the age of Taurus or Gemini, when there was communication and intellectual sustained culture with Sumerian and Egypt, there was, according to the Baba Chakra, a fall of spiritual down to the dark, right? So you could see in history that there was a transfer of power from Atlantis into Sumerian, Egyptian, into Samaria, or the people of Samaria, pretty much taking over. Enki changed humanity with adding the reptilian part of the brain. So remember, the Anunnaki were aligned with the reptilians. He found out a way to sustain humanity and not be eliminated by his father. Say, hey, well, actually, our allies over here would like to keep humans around because they feed off their fears, and we don't want the reptilians feeding off of us, so we can use these humans as fuel for our allies and keep the alliance going with the Draconians and the Greys. Here's a specific reference to the region of the world where ancient Samaria is, Egypt, and the beginning of Judaism, religion. There's the map. There's the reference. 2 and 2 equals 4, not 5. So Egypt had constant power struggles during this time, during the age of Aries and Taurus and Gemini. It's in their records that show that there was a constant transfer or rebellions or conflict in Egypt from a transfer of beliefs from the fall of the age of Leo and Cancer. And there was lustrous golden age, okay? When the Sphinx actually had a lion head. And they carved it out and put a human on there. And like, the gods have left us. So in the age of Aries, or the age of Taurus, they changed the Sphinx's head. But that also started the dwindling and the reduction of knowledge that humans had access to, because they were like, we were separated, so now we're more aligned with the Anunnaki, Draconian, Zeta, Reptilian forces, and they did not want humans to be more than the good old slaves or food that they saw us as. They tell you the truth about what they know with the Anunnaki in movies, like the Prometheus movie, like Aliens, how the reptilians came about, how Enki gave them life, or not specifically life, like they didn't exist, but like a body to inhabit. And Enki was part of the reason why the reptilians and the whole galactic fall of Galactic Federation, personally, is how I believe. Okay, the Garden of Eden was Lemuria. The Tree of Life was the foundation in which life on Earth was sacred and cherished, okay? So, after Lemuria and the Pleiadian Wars, they tried again to have peace and to coincide and kind of guide and help the Anunnaki and the Draconians, but they fell. Not completely at that time. What they had happened was they said, all right, we're going to do it how we want to do it. Get out. We're done. This also references many religion about a war in heaven during the Atlantis, fall of Atlantis. The aliens went to war over us and over what happened in the history and all the ties and as above, so below. Same kind of stuff that we do on Earth. They did over the situation. Why are we so important? What's with this egotistical center of the universe thing? Well, the Tree of Knowledge was a reference to science and technology. Okay, there's a serpent, Adam and Eve. Now, this isn't literal. This is just metaphorical. You need to look at it. There's the moon. If you understand, you understand. So we left the age of light into the age of darkness. We went from a wonderful, beautiful golden age into the dark forest, where we were on our own. But not literally. We still had these aliens. going back, why egotistical center of the earth thing. Humans are a missing link between crossbreeding aliens and have a spiritual genetic power to enhance other beings by crossbreeding. Okay, humans are not something that comes to, they're not beings that come directly from nature. We are a manipulation. We're like a science experiment. We're like a charity. We're like that prize science project that everybody wants to use because it has great power to further other scientific projects. There's good reference to this from other like alien knowledge that has come from contacts, like the Andromedans or the Arcturians. They know this kind of stuff, and they're trying to tell us this. But the Zetas, the Dracos, the Anunnaki, and the Reptilians do not want us to understand that. They want us to keep us as a prize prison lab rat that stays in their lab. They don't want us to evolve past. They want to keep that power to themselves and away from us. So this is why you have the rise of religion. So as you can see, there's two images here. There's sacrificing of children, which help increase the power of the reptilians and grow their forces, because they feed off of the lush or the deluge that comes off of us from our spiritual energy or our energetic energy or the chemical processes that happen when you endure horrendous things, trauma. And as a baby, that's like the most the greatest power they can get. So they would sacrifice their babies to this god, bull, that represent the age of Taurus. And it's pagan, and it's from Israel. So it's the same region that Abraham lived in. So if you can coincide what really happened, is Abraham was like, I can't sacrifice my child. He was told to by the pagans because he was living away from them as like, some guy out in the farmlands, not part of the village or the towns or the cities or whatever, or where the temples were and stuff. And he's like, I love my children. I can't just sacrifice them, but he was forced to. And then Zeta, pretending to be an angel, came and said, oh, you've passed the test of God, because this was the transfer from the age of Taurus to the age of Aries. So, and these beings understand the cosmic God energy with the stars, the heavens, okay? They understand the influence and the connection that we have with all of that, because we are, like I said, we were created to be that being that could encompass all of the cosmos for, pretty much scientific reasons. Whether that's good or bad, it doesn't matter. The point is that those in control at the time of the Taurus transfer to the Aries age, they had to keep humanity going because they're prized. They truly don't want us extinct until they want to transfer us. They want to transition us into the evolution of, because things have changed. Things change over time. So like we're going to age of Aquarius, so science and technology and stuff like that. So we're transitioning from the age of Pisces. But anyways, so as we transfer through ages, our cosmic connection changes, and our learning and understanding changes too. So, but the Zetas understand that, and so they have to keep manipulating and guiding us in the direction that they want. So that's why the rise of religion came about. There were the Dark Alliance, I call it, with the Draconians, the Reptilians, the Zetas, and the Anunnaki, had to make sure that they were our guides and gods or controllers, guiding us down a path that they wanted to guide us down. Okay? They don't see us as something you need to cherish. They see us as, like I said, a lab rat. They don't care particularly. And they teach those who are in contact with them about how it's a big deal, you'll live again, or who cares, it's not a big deal, die, it's for, the greater good of humanity, which is a big old lie. They just manipulate the truth into their agenda. You see what I'm saying? They overlap the truth. That's what evil does. And a lot of people are like, oh, you can't say they're all evil. Well, they may not all be evil now, but the historical principle is that there was an evil agenda. The ones that were in control have gone down this path, down through the dark ages of Aries and Pisces. I'm sorry to say this, but it's true. But anyway, so they use Abraham's love for his children because we are, like I said, remember, I believe we were born innocent and we believe we're born to want love and light and cosmos, right? But they manipulate our love into saying, okay, hey, you don't have to sacrifice your children anymore like you were in the Age of Taurus. Actually, you can sacrifice goats now. And the offerings of your incense and stuff that help you. Because they're just little by little working their way into manipulating us and guiding us down a dark path, okay? Little by little. So Abraham, even though when he was drunk, he was, he did. That's why you have what you have in these churches and religions from Abrahamic religions with the little boys and stuff. I don't want to say anymore. He was drunk and he got caught by what he did. But that's because he was acting out of love, but when you're drunk and acting out of love, you can do some horrible things, right? So the Zeta can infiltrate the mind and make you see what they want you to see. Okay? There's a movie that shows you this. Dark Skies. This boy thought he was going towards his brother and then realized his mom and dad and brother were behind him and he gets abducted. The eastern part of the world was already under control by the Draconians. They have the oldest ancient, references to this was Draconians' world. South America was the first to follow the Reptilians. They have constant blood sacrifice. They were doing it constantly all the time. There's another movie about that by Mel Gibson, ripping people's hearts out and stuff. Native American tribes are the Atlantis people that fled north, and they were haunted by this as well. Okay, but they had the Ophanim during Egypt and stuff were still in contact with the Native Americans here, North America, not South America. Okay, trying to still help humanity because the Ophanim believe all life is sacred, even this reptilian life that has come about, even though it's doing horrible things or has it. That's why, there's this, some reptilians are good. Yeah, because Ophanim didn't give up. They believe all life is sacred. Same with Zetas, okay? But anyways, this is all part of the historical battle and of good and evil and, it's an evolutionary process, and a lot has changed since the fall of Atlantis and the rise of religion. There are experts that go over the last 5,000 years that show what there's the Zeta research and technology or dimensional capabilities or whatever you want to call it. They're showing you how a lot of the stuff that is known by religion, like possessions or demon or like some of that really dark stuff that Nathaniel Gillis presented. He's got a lot of. I think he's an expert at the spiritual history of the last 5,000 years. which is what I'm talking about with the Zetas. And you can see his presentation or information on leakproject.com or his Leak Project YouTube. Shout out to Rex Bear for that. He's really good. He knows what he's talking about. But that was during the last 5,000 years. And that's showing you the scientific experiments and what they were able to do when they were uninhibited from other aliens saying, you can't do this. And they're like, oh, well, we did it. We did what we did to bring up the dark powers, the dark of the yin and yang, okay? So in India, they had Syrian star system alien race stay with the people. But unfortunately, some of the Syrians fell to the corruption and into the dark, and they are not untouchable. They're not so powerful that they couldn't be corrupted. Not all of the Syrians, but some. That's Agni, by the way. And Sheldon Moore has a lot of information from the Hindu, Krishna, Syrian, India connections here. He presents a lot of powerful information with the ages, and he shows that the age of Aries and Pisces were kind of like the dark ages for us. So if another person that's been on Leak Project, and a lot of great information from him as well that can be connected. The Nordics were located with the Northern European people, and they stayed with us and tried to help humans as well. But they have a similar racist issue as well with the history of the Pleiadian Wars with Draconians. So there's a cultural conflict with the Nordics and the Draconians and the Anunnaki and the whole history. So they had a hard time trying to be as peaceful as like Ophanim. Ophanim were just they're very high consciousness of perceiving it's all part of the plan, God's plan, or it's all part of the cosmic connection that we all share, and they understand the suffering and the struggles are part of just the way the cosmos works. The Nordics tend to be like, no, that's not right. See, they just have different cultural beliefs, like as above, so below. So as we do here on Earth, they do too, right? Africa was controlled and experimented on by the Zetas. That was their, like they tell you, black people were original ancestor with the evolutionary theory from monkeys kind of thing. Well, I tend to believe we're more like the Bigfoot or the Wookiee, the Chewbacca, was the original, not original, was the primary body that we scientifically evolved from the experiments and the research and the genetic manipulation from the aliens, and adding all kinds of DNA. The Bigfoot or the Chewbacca was the primary test, or like the source of what we came from. And then they just added and did what they did to make who we are now. So with that perception, the Zetas were like, well, just keep using the black skinned people. I hate to say it like that, but we'll keep using them. That's why they have these cultural things of referencing Zeta. They don't understand. They don't know. They're under the influence, right, of alien interaction. The aboriginal people have knowledge of the Zeta taking experimenting on humanity. They'll tell you they have the original DNA, 42 and 2, and then they'll tell you that, yeah, our people were taken and experimented on. And then different people came from them. Bird tribes, Ophanim respect life and all kinds of beings sacred to the cosmos. So, and that culture was passed on to North American tribes. They have very similar culture and beliefs as the Ophanim. That's why they were more naturalistic and tried to to be peaceful, but they still had their issues of 500 years of war. They had tribes of war and tribes of peace, and then the chief in between that helped or tried to balance these tribes out. But fortunately, through the Dark Ages, the Pisces and Aries, I think they were the last ones to actually get fully corrupted. And it's in their history, 500 years of war they had amongst the tribes. And that's my presentation. I have more to come. This is just something to show what I've concluded so far. And thanks for watching. I will see you on the next video.